We'll go through just a roll call to make sure that everybody's here. So Jeff Cook. Just say yes.
Present on call.
Okay. Tom DePercio.
I'm here.
David Georgie.
Yes, I'm here.
And I'm here, and we're waiting for Kevin. So when Kevin arrives, and I think we are being recorded. So thank you, Mark. And we have two people here who are going to talk about 477 Boston Post Road. So why don't you guys unmute yourself and put yourself on video, and then we can watch you. And you can explain what you're doing and tell me which sheets you'd like to show.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson. I'm here with Nathaniel Dwyer, who's also with Howard Stein Hudson, to speak today about 447 Boston Post Road East. Our clients, Wayside Apartments LLC. I'm not sure if Jeff or Matt, if you made it on today, but they have recently purchased Harrison Arms and renamed it Wayside Apartments. Harrison Arms was an existing community that when Matt and Jeff came in, they were looking to make some significant improvements. Before they purchased it, we were able to get into City Hall prior to all of this and meet with Jeffrey Cook a little bit about the project and discuss the type of improvements that they wanted to make. And that's why we're here today. Most of the improvements that you'll see, and Priscilla, if you can go to the layout and materials plan, it's about 2 sheets later.
Okay.
This one. Most of the improvements that they're looking to make, although significant improvements inside the buildings and significant improvements to the decks, one of the things that they had asked us to look at seriously was the parking situation out there. This is the proposed map for some parking improvements. Essentially, majority of the lot is paved and is parked. Actually, if you can go back one, it might be a little bit helpful. Just go back to this page is good. Erosion and sedimentation control plan.
Jumps fast, so
that's okay. Yeah, go down one more. That's the existing conditions plan. This is our demo and erosion control plan. Essentially, there was a lot of dead ends in the parking lot. There was a lot of really oddly configured parking spaces, a lot of oddly shaped parking spaces and aisles that just, I'm not really sure how a lot of the residents there were really using these effectively. So what the new owners asked us to do was really look at the parking area. There's also significantly less parking than was required per zoning, and that was required per the new owners. They were looking to get essentially as many parking spaces on site as possible. Currently, there's 109 dwelling units there, and at two spaces per dwelling unit, we should be at 218 spaces. There was only 148 on site, and some of them were really difficult, if not impossible, to use. We were able to kind of re-look at the parking area, look at access, look at fire access also, and then look at how we could increase the number of spots on site. And so what we were able to do is look a little bit at where we could make improvements. We essentially started at the existing edges of pavement and worked our way back in, assuming that we were going to mill and overlay the whole parking lot, where we could get the striping better, more compliant, the aisles more compliant, and also provide additional usable spaces. So what we looked at was providing some compact spaces. We have about 30% compact spaces on the site. We've utilized angled parking. We've utilized parallel parking to really kind of make the most of the paved surfaces that were there. We are increasing the paved surfaces just to the north of building 1. There's currently an existing walkway there, but all of the parking behind all of these buildings was dead end. So what we looked at doing is providing fire access where we could. So we've added that paving to the north of building 1 with those additional angled parking spaces. And cut into that hillside to allow for a fire truck to access and get around all three of those buildings to the rear, and provide circular access also to get by building 5 and then access building 4. And we've provided a fire turning plan within the plan set to show fire access is improved on the site. In doing this, we also looked at the drainage. Currently, the site is captured by, there's 2 catch basins that go off to the south towards that retail development. And then the rest of the site essentially just sheets off to the back and goes down to the wetland area in that back corner. So what we've looked at doing with, instead of trying to really reinvent the wheel, we're looking to replace both those catch basins with deep sun-putted catch basins to provide some additional protections in line to the flow that goes south. And we've also taken what land area we have left and provided 2 little sediment forebays on the site. If you can go down one more sheet, I think, Priscilla. So we've tried, certainly these buildings are, yeah, there you go. Existing, the elevations are existing, the parking lot's existing right now with elevations that are existing. So without really being able to reinvent too much of what's happening there, we have looked at every place we could possibly add additional pervious surfaces or landscaping. So we've cut out areas within the parking lot that were not utilized and created landscape surfaces, and we have essentially tried to keep with as much of the existing grading as possible while providing, there's 2, I see if it'll let me, you can't probably see my cursor, can you? Let's see if it'll let me. No, that's okay. There's 2 little sediment forebays down by building 5, one in the rear, and one just to the south of building 5. And what that does is what we were looking at doing is essentially providing some semblance of surface treatment before that water goes off into the buffer zone to that wetland area. This will allow, some of the sediments coming off the parking lot, kind of direct it to these 2 areas, allow things to settle out prior to overflowing into that wetland area. We're also looking at removing, there's a significant amount of pavement right up against that wetland. That's an encroachment that's off-site. So we're doing a significant amount of pavement, removing the dumpsters and taking that pavement off from behind building 5 to essentially maximize the pervious surfaces within the development. So we're able to reduce the amount of pavement collectively between that encroachment and on-site by almost 1,500 square feet by these inclusions of some new landscape areas. We're protecting these landscape areas by adding some significant plantings. So if you go down to the next page, you can see what we've done is essentially added to what's currently there. So you can see some shade trees. There's some plantings along where we're removing some of the hillside on the north, some plant mix there. There's a significant shrubs and again, some shade trees that we've put into the parking lot, essentially everywhere where we're making new cuts into the pavement to provide for some new pervious surfaces. So just really kind of benefit and buffer kind of what's happening there today and dress up the parking lot a little bit. That essentially covers everything. We're also going to be submitting for a notice of intent. I believe we'll be submitting today or tomorrow for our work within the buffer zone. You can see the 100-foot buffer zone kind of touches the back rear of the site near building 5 for the work that we're doing there adjacent to that wetland finger that kind of sticks out in that general area. So we'll be filing that shortly, and that pretty much covers it. So if you have any questions, concerns, I can certainly go into greater detail if you're looking for more information. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Priscilla, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Site Plan Review Committee, anybody have any questions?
I guess one
I'll jump in first. This is Tom. I think they've done a really good job given the constraints that they had on site. I'm hearing an echo. Do you hear that when I speak?
Yes.
Tom, you're reverberating, so maybe, I don't know. So anyway, try again. Go ahead.
Is this any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so I think they've done a really good job given the constraints in adding some stormwater improvements and access and parking. I haven't looked in detail at the plan yet. I just wonder about curbing. Is there curbing there now? Is there curbing proposed?
Right, so yeah, we are providing some curbing in some areas. There really isn't a lot of curbing out there today. Actually, Patricia, can I request control and I can, let's see if it'll let me zoom in.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. Yeah, go ahead and ask for control.
Yep, it says waiting for approval.
Okay, how do I do that?
I think it shows up at the top of your screen.
Oh, allow. Okay, there you go.
Oh, awesome.
Got it. Okay, you're in control.
Gone. Oh, there we go. All right, this isn't, let's see. Maybe it's only giving me like piecemeal control. So yeah, so a lot of the site is not, I was just looking for the specific areas, is not curbed. The water just free flows around except for adjacent to the buildings. We have added some curb in places. Actually, I'm going to stop control, Priscilla, just to give you back control because I think it was a little bit easier.
Okay, just tell me and I can point and all that too. So
if you go back to the layout and materials plan.
Put the next one up.
Yep. And if you, that's okay. There we go. And if you zoom down in towards, essentially, you can see towards the curb line at the road, at Boston Post Road.
Okay.
It'll let you zoom down in there.
There we go.
See, so I believe I was going to look and see if it told me what kind of curb. Those are planters at the road. So I believe they're created kind of out of, yeah, they're stone wall planters that kind of come in on both sides of the road. Then pretty much everywhere else, except for around buildings, you'll see it's just edge of pavement. There's a retaining wall between those two front rows of parking because there's a significant grade differential. And then up around the building, you see there's bit berm up around, and there's stairs. There's bit berm essentially around the buildings. What we've done exterior of that is we've strategically placed, if you can kind of pan towards the back a little bit, Priscilla.
Okay, let me see if I can do that.
We've strategically placed Cape Cod berm in new areas against the building and in areas where we're kind of trying to help the flow of stormwater go towards those sediment forebays. So along the back line, you can see where currently it's just an existing edge of pavement. We're providing Cape Cod berm there. And it's really just to kind of help move the water towards the forebay. It was all going to the wetland already. But instead, we'd like it to hit that forebay and let some of the sediment drop out before. So we've strategically used it essentially in quite a few areas throughout the site to kind of make stormwater flow in the ways that we want it to.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, is if the water is going to get to the forebays that you're designing. And then the other thing is we have an ordinance that talks about the material of the curbing where it's near landscape areas. It's supposed to be something durable as opposed to asphalt berm. That being said, it's an existing site where you're making some, I think, significant improvements. So I'd be willing to look at something different in those areas if that's what's being proposed. And then I guess my only other comment is that there are plans for reconstruction of Boston Post Road. You guys are well aware of those plans. So I'm just assuming that the landscaping is gonna accommodate whatever changes along the edge of the road are gonna happen.
Yes, I'll make sure, I'll coordinate those with the plans for, I haven't coordinated them with the plan for Route 20, but I do, the plantings are all on site, but I'll check with our transportation staff and just make sure that that's coordinated correctly. We haven't, just to clarify, we're not, the new landscape areas we're creating interior of the parking lot, we were actually not going to provide curbing on. And that was just to allow for there to be not interference, certainly with plows at this time, because the areas are really small and they kind of jut out. So we're trying to kind of, yes, put plantings in there, but not also create an impediment kind of in the middle of a parked area because it's so tight.
All right, Tom, do you have any more questions?
No, that's all I have.
Jeff?
Yeah, Tom, in the reconstruction of Route 20, is there a sidewalk planned on this side of the road? Do we know?
Yes, we do know, and yes, there is.
So then we need to have a sidewalk to meet 521, a walkway to connect this site to that sidewalk that's going to go on. So that will have to be coordinated to include that, because currently there is no access, pedestrian access to the way. So a couple other things I have is a question: why is there no handicap accessible parking spaces for building 1 and 2? It's all conjugated on other buildings.
Right. So essentially, we put the handicapped parking spaces back where they were and checked to make sure that those areas were essentially meeting the requirements. But there's actually no accessible way to enter, I believe, any of these buildings. And I don't believe that the owner believes that the improvements are such that it's necessary at this time. So we've kind of kept the areas, if there are improvements in the future to gain handicapped access to each of these buildings, a large ramp system, et cetera, they are able to go from those spaces. But essentially, that's what we looked at.
Okay, 521 CMR is going to require that whatever you're touching, you comply with. So the parking is going to have to be compliant, even if the buildings are not. Because at another time, they could trip the requirement to do accessible within the building.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to provide parking for those two buildings, then that would require a variance relief through AAB.
Well, we've provided the parking on site, meeting the requirements of handicapped accessibility. The number
And it's supposed to be dispersed within multiple units for the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So you just can't say we got two buildings that we're not going to have any handicap accessible people in it.
Right. So we can look at moving some spaces around to accommodate those at building 1 and building 2.
So, going to be hard to describe, but building 3 at the southeast corner, we have a proposed sign: one way, do not enter. Everybody
Yes.
see that?
No.
You got to pan up a little bit.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Too far. We got building 3, southeast corner. Down one building, up.
Right here?
Up, right, okay. Southeast corner of the building. Go right. Right, okay, right there. See, there's a sign. Well, get to the right of that, but it's a proposed sign one way. I feel that, I'll relay this to Tom, that seems to be a confusing spot to put that sign there saying do not enter. Is people going to see that and not drive down not realize they can continue to drive down to the parking lot of Building 5.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I don't know if
Seems
there's
like
a
it almost
place.
should be on that island right where the line goes through for the directional for the placement of the sign.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That makes sense, Jeff.
That's fine, we can move the sign.
Okay, any other comments, Jeff?
Yeah, one other, since the fire chief isn't here. Building 1, northeast corner.
Northeast.
Okay, oh, right there. You see where it says transition curb? When we go to the fire apparatus, we're driving across those islands. Can that area of that transition curb be changed a little bit to allow navigation rather than going up over landscaped area or whatever we call it? And maybe you want to go to page 7 to see that.
Is this 7?
Yeah, 7.
Okay, there we go.
So you can see right on that island on the left side, they're driving through that. Right there. And they're nicking the little area on the back. So there's some areas, there's just 2 of those I didn't know, and there's another one down the southwest corner of Building 3. I don't know how critical those are to fire department.
I think Fred Flynn is on. Fred, do you want to comment on that?
I'm here. I'm actually here.
Oh, you are, Kevin. I didn't see you. Sorry.
That's all right.
Apologies.
Sorry, didn't know that.
That's okay. I know. That's all right. I came in a little late. I was at City Hall. So, but I have page 7 in front of me. I share the same concerns, particularly with the bump out, as you just described, that northeast corner and the southwest corner. And obviously, I know it looks like it's similar to our apparatus, but Chelmsford, I'll have to look at our measurements compared to the truck that's depicted, or used for the fire department travel plan. But I share those same concerns, so I'd like to look at that.
I think the applicant might want to start at the beginning and explain that right now there's no access around that building at all.
Yeah.
On the existing site.
I came in just while she was doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I apologize for that. This came right up. We have a fire truck that's an apparatus that we do use in Chelmsford, and we looked typically to the size of that apparatus, and that's just the way it's labeled in our auto turn. So
right.
We will definitely fix that and make sure, and please review to make sure that these do, if you have a simulation of your truck, would be happy to actually bring your actual truck into auto turn and put it into the site too, which is perfectly fine. And we will look at these tire paths and overhangs to make sure that these are tightened up so that there's no breaching of any of these landscape areas before we issue a revision. And yes, indeed, there is no fire access around this grouping of 1, 2, and 3 right now. There's no access whatsoever on the north of Building 1. And essentially, once you're in the site, you need to back up to get anywhere. So what we were trying to do in our best possible manner is increase pavement as little as possible, but while certainly also providing this extra layer of safety by allowing you to get your truck in and out. So we'll definitely neaten that up a little bit for you. And if you can send me a detail of the dimensions on your truck, would be happy to put it into this plan and update it.
We can do that, Katie. So, Katie, the other question I had is relative to what Tom brought up as far as curbing. You mentioned Cape Cod berm. Is that vertical granite curbing along the edge of the building where the walkway is? Let's say building 1 northeast corner, or is that going to be Cape Cod berm as well? Like where the truck is shown to actually drive over? What is that?
It's all going to be Cape Cod berm.
Okay.
David, Georgie, do you have any comments?
Oh, my only question was going to be, Tom kind of answered it, was about the entrance and how the reconstruction of Route 20 was going to affect that, if anything was going to change. If they're going to put a sidewalk along there, that could help with some of the, open up a little bit of that area with the blindness of that turn. So when someone's exiting there and turning north or west, excuse me, if they're turning west out of there, it's a little bit of a blind turn coming out, but I think hopefully the sidewalk will open that up a little bit. But that was really my question. And I assume, as the diagram indicated, it's going to be marked in the roadway with arrows for directional purposes, people driving in, so they know to go around buildings 1, 2, and 3 there.
We were going to do it mostly with signage. Usually we were using the arrows just kind of for help from the two reviewing the plans. But if you feel the arrows would be beneficial, we could certainly provide those too. But we were trying to do it mostly with signage.
My opinion, at least, would be that the arrows on the roadway work pretty well.
Okay. Sure.
Just sometimes with so much signage there and cars parked, a lot of cars, they might not see it. So that's all.
Okay.
Jeffrey Cook, I understand that this is far from ideal, but I think it's better that the new owner is trying to bring all the parking as much as possible onto the site. So it's creating some issues with travel lane widths that don't meet the zoning and items, but they're trying to stay within their limits and the buildings are there. So my question is, because this site has sprawled considerably onto abutting properties. What is happening with the playground area in the rear of the property? Is that still going to be utilized, or do we have an agreement, or is that going to be discontinued?
That's something I don't know the answer to today. I can speak with the new owners and find out what their intention is for the grass playground area. As you can tell, we have not shown anything on this plan as far as removal of equipment or anything being done to that area. It's outside the limit of work, but I can check with them prior to the revision and see how they're going to address that.
Because I'd like to know that, because if there's agreement to utilize that parcel, there can be an agreement to extend the parking somewhere, some of the parking area, like at Building 2, the rear of Building 2, we are choking down that from down to 22 feet, and 24-foot aisle is required in that area for 90-degree parking. So you can see where in the past it went out to the limit of work with substantially more paving there, and I fully understand they're trying to bring it all onto their own property. So I'd just like to know if there's that feasibility that we can make that 24 with the cooperation of the neighbor. I'm not too upset about that. Just that point. And I will throw this out just to, I don't think it's going to be part of this. I see it's called Wayside Apartments. Do we know if there's any plans to change the name other than Harrison Arms, or keep Harrison Arms? Because I'd like to go on the record right now, that does not seem like a good idea to change this to Wayside, where we have another Wayside complex just down the road.
I will make the owners aware. And we'll let you know what I'll let them know your concerns too.
Okay, so this is Priscilla, and my comments are similar to everybody else's. I was wondering whether you had looked into trying to do any kind of infiltration. I know that for the most part, you just have these two catch basins and you know, you're sort of trying to capture that and clean it a little bit, which is great. I mean, so that's an improvement. But have you tried to do any kind of infiltration for roof runoff just to try to capture that and meet, you know, try to meet the standards a little bit more?
We haven't. We really addressed this more by looking at trying to remove as much of the impervious surface as we possibly could and provide additional infiltration by providing essentially more areas for where the water is in today.
Okay, well, we can look at that also in conservation. We can just sort of see whether that's something that's would be useful just to try to get more water into the ground or not. I don't know during rain events how much. I mean, this area clearly has a lot of pavement and a lot of roof that I can't imagine that the catch basins really work, but I guess they do. So because there's just so few on such a big site. So I'm just trying to, you know, kind of understand what's happening today and whether there's something that we can improve better just by looking at what's there. So when I do my inspection out there for the wetland area, we can sort of see how things are running off as well. And then I
So
agree with. Okay, go ahead.
This site is really low, and my assumption is that you probably don't have room above the water table.
Oh, okay.
To do that. But it's worth a confirmation of that.
Yeah. I mean, even maybe up closer to the road or something to figure out. But anyway, we can look at that. It just again, we're just trying to improve. Every time somebody upgrades, we're trying to improve the situation. So we're just trying to ask the questions and see if it's possible. And I agree with Tom about the landscaping on Route 20, making sure that we're working with that. I think there's some nice trees in the front of this one. I can't remember. Maybe not. So anyway, we can look at what Mass Highway is doing and just sort of see if we can improve. We are trying to improve the Route 20 corridor altogether. And so Mass Highway is putting landscaping in, and we're also just trying to make sure every development is improving that situation too. So we can look at that, and I can look at your landscape plan a little bit more and just see if we can, you know, make that work. So that sounds good. Any other questions or comments that they should look into to try to deal with this? Oh, Jeff, one question I had for you. So this is a pre-existing non-conforming, and they're making it, or it's pre-existing, yeah, non-conforming, and so they're improving on that. So do they need ZBA any kind of approval there, or is this kind of grandfathered because they're improving an existing situation?
No, they need to seek relief from ZBA for the increased lot coverage.
Oh, okay.
There might be a few other details, and that's why I had them come before this committee, because this has changed, not drastically, but some of the elements have changed from the previous plan that was submitted to me.
Okay. So we'll see the next iteration, and then we can see if we can get, then you'll know what you have to submit to ZBA. I mean, for what relief they need.
Priscilla,
Yes.
one issue before we close, if that's all right. Is everyone else good? On building, right between building 1 and in the front in the northeast, where the hydrant is located, I guess I have some concerns relative to the hydrant. Looks like existing is sort of a striped space. It seems to be centered there, no parking. And it looks like what you're actually proposing, where the spaces will be realigned, the hydrant may be hidden behind whatever car is parked there. I don't know what page we could look at. So
Yeah, it'll be in the middle. It's in the middle island between the 3 and 7 spaces.
Okay. So I'm looking at the location. It looks like it's graphically, it looks like it's right beside one of the spaces, not centered. The way the spaces were aligned, that's something we're going to want to watch closely.
Okay.
When there's a particular page where it just shows where it's located, and it looks like it could be within the door swing of any car there, and it obviously it doesn't provide for a proper clearance in the way the spaces were realigned. So we'll have to take a look at that.
Okay.
Overall,
right.
the improvements.
Yes, I think it'll look a lot better. So, I mean, just adding some of this new landscaping, it's going to be very nice for this area. Any other last comments for the applicants or the consultants so that they can go back and make some changes?
No, the police department's good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, Jeff?
Just one added question. Where the original plan came into me had 164 parking spaces and now it's 165. Do you know, Kate, exactly where that one popped in?
Yeah, so we were going to, Priscilla, if you can just go up a little bit.
Okay. The next slide, this one?
That one's good. Yep. Oh.
Oops, sorry. I don't know why it keeps jumping. All right. Ah! I didn't even do anything. All right, hold on.
Sure, Jeff. We used to have the connecting driveway. We were trying to do that behind Building 5, and that didn't work out because it was too close to the property line. Right there, where we were connecting behind Building 5. So when we took that driveway out, there was room for one more space there.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Just so everybody knows, there was a plan to go at Building 5 to loop around Building 5, but it came down to 9 feet wide between that and the property line, so that was taken out. That would have been a new violation. It would have to be kept 5 feet away from the building, so that created an issue.
Okay.
All right. So, Kate, any other questions for us?
Nope, I think we are good. We have a list of stuff that we can work on and get a new plan in.
Okay, and our next meeting is June 2nd. So if you wanted to be on that meeting, you just need to get to me the week before. But so I think we're good. And so if you have any questions and conservation stuff, you're filing tomorrow because we just realized that the legal deadline for the newspaper is tomorrow. So just because of Memorial Day. So
okay.
Even if you don't have the whole thing, if you can give me some of it, then I can get the legal ad in.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm headed down to the office. I'm going to head out
for
lunchtime to get everything stamped and put together. So.
Okay, excellent. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the committee, I don't have anything else unless anybody else has any questions or comments about anything. I think I didn't have anything extra on the agenda.
I'm good.
This could be a record.
Yeah.
All right, it's a record 9:47. Look at that. Woohoo.
Sorry I was late, but I got here in time.
It's quite all right. We knew you were on your way. We had our sources tell us.
It could have been 9:37.
I'm informed.
All right. Thanks, you guys. We'll see you soon.
All right,
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.